Welcome to Chatsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to the final episode of Avatar Month. My name's Satsunami and joining me for one last time is none other than hopefully still my friend after last week is the one and only Andrew. Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. I know we had some words after the Shyamalan movie that I wouldn't be returning and that this is the last you'd be seeing of me, but here I am again, back at it again to discuss what is my favourite series, even still after that movie.
Yeah, because I found it quite funny that despite the arguments that we had, the very strongly worded letters, and there was one particular incident where I looked outside and somebody smashed my window in with a brick, and when I looked outside it was just 7 men marching on the same spot, and it was just you punching the air. So yeah, I'm glad we managed to get by that, and that'll be the last, well, technically the last Shyamalan reference that I will make until, of course, later on. But we are indeed wrapping up Avatar Month with our trivia quiz, which has become a somewhat staple of these theme months, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't have a theme month without a quiz at the end. You gotta show what you've learned over the month.
Show you're working, show your answers. And yeah, before we dive into that, before I quiz you on your knowledge of Avatar, and I get the feeling you're going to do so much better on this one because of how much of an Avatar fan you are.
And how bad I did in the last Dragon Ball episode.
Hashtag no pressure. What are some of your favourite memories of this month?
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Even the Shyamalan movie, it was interesting to finally dive into that and have a bit of a rant with you about it. Very similar to when we discussed Dragon Ball Evolution. And then just kind of revisiting my favourite series. It was really, really cool to hear what your thoughts were on Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, and just kind of discussing kind of the wider properties, the new Netflix show, the books, the what's to come with the new movies coming out later this year.
Oh no, it's been an absolute blast diving into the world of Avatar again. As you said, we talked about The Last Airbender show, we talked about The Legend of Korra, then we moved on to the not so widely beloved Shyamalan film, which had to be done, to be honest. You can't really talk about Avatar without mentioning that. According to Google, and I was joking with you about this earlier, if you type in Shyamalan's film, you'll get loads of articles with garbage and terrible in all caps. It's like the terrible Shyamalan film, the garbage, and etc, etc. But it was still good to get that out, even if it felt like a therapy session. It did feel good to talk about the film, to talk about its context within the wider fandom. It's honestly been such a fun month to do, and it's been such a long time in the making, because as we said in the very first episode of Avatar Month, that you and I were going back and forth about, should we do an episode on Avatar, should we not? And then fortunately you and I have got the time to dive into it comprehensively and of course do this full month. So it's been a journey, and it's been amazing as well to go back and essentially just visit a series that brought us closer together, of course, in university, and one that is so special to both of us. And of course the first episode of this month being one of the longest we have ever recorded, so bravo for that, Andrew.
I knew I'd eventually set that standard, but the fact that it was an Avatar one feels appropriate.
Oh, 100%. I expected it, not gonna lie, but at the same time, yeah, it was such a fun episode to do though, because there's just so much to talk about. You can listen to people talk about the show in depth and everything, but yeah, to fit it into one episode that I said would only be an hour or two. All I'll say is the raw recording for that was, I want to say, over 2.5 hours, maybe even 2 3/4.
It was definitely heading towards 3.
Ironically enough, I think the only other time that's happened was when Marie from the We Needed Roads podcast, her and I ended up talking about Mass Effect 2, and that went on for about 3 hours, and I think the final episode was cut down to 2 hours 13 minutes. Absolutely incredible episode. For anyone listening out there, feel free to listen to that episode after this one, but that was a long one. So yeah, no, I'm glad we managed to get our passion for this show out. But of course, now we're going to find out how much of a fan you really are, Andrew, by, yes, testing your knowledge on the 3 topics that, of course, we have talked about: Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and the Shyamalan, The Last Airbender. To be honest, I think you're going to do fantastic in this one, but for those of you who haven't played the Chatsunami trivia quiz before, the rules for this are relatively simple. There are going to be 3 rounds for this month where I'm going to ask Andrew 5 questions per topic, and at the end of each round, I'm going to give him the answers, and of course you listening at home, lovely listeners, so feel free to play along and see if you can beat Andrew's score. Hopefully, but we'll never know. But please feel free to comment underneath this episode and tell us how you did. So without any further ado, Andrew, are you ready for this?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Pandalorians, go and get some snacks, get a notepad and pen, or use your phone app to jot down the answers, and yeah, we will see you after this break. Welcome to Chatsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunami, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
Hello, we are Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, a podcast all about living a low-waste lifestyle in your 20s, hosted by Beth and Marie. We are just your average consumer trying to make the best decisions for people and planet. And we mess up. A lot.
And the next morning had a massive hangover and I was like, where's my reusable straw? No, my prized possession. You know, toothpaste is like one of the jumping off points of this podcast, and it also was one of the jumping off points of my very large dentist bill. And they put it in just standard plastic cup with a plastic lid. But don't worry, folks, they put a paper straw in it, which I think I slurped twice and then it disintegrated.
Wait, you've never learned how to ride a bike?
So kudos to my dad, he tried to teach me and I was just a pain.
I love how unforgiving you are of the fact that this was 1,800 meters above sea level. But where was my quiche?
Grab a cup of tea, sit down with us, and come and join the Sustainable Support Group.
And we are back. Andrew, are you ready?
Let's go for it.
Okay, here we go. So our first round is based on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Question 1. During the development stages of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang was going to have a robot monkey companion who later became Momo.
I'm going to say false, because a robot doesn't really make sense within the kind of world that they were creating. And like I've seen the pilot and stuff of what it was originally supposed to be. So unless this was like real early development prior to their placement and its kind of period setting, not that it takes place in a real time period, but it feels like an older time period than would have that, I'm going to say false.
Okay. Question 2.
It kills me that I don't get to know until the end of the round.
Oh, I'm such a stinker. Question 2. After the end of The Last Airbender, there were talks of having a TV movie where Zuko looked for his mother. However, this was scrapped in favour of The Legend of Korra.
See, there's a couple of things that don't line up there, because The Legend of Korra came out in 2013 and Avatar ended in 2008, I think. So I don't think that Korra, in the immediate aftermath at least of The Last Airbender, would have prevented the TV movie. They did subsequently release comics about Zuko's mum. So this is tricky, because they do release a story about it, which could well have been another season. And they talked about doing a season 4 that would have followed a lot of that storyline, but it was not planned to be a TV movie to my knowledge. So I'm going to say false for that one.
Question 3. We all know of Iroh's love of tea, but in the early stages of production, studio executives thought that he should drink coffee instead, as it would appeal more to an American audience.
See, I was initially going to say no, that's silly, but executives are so stupid that I could see them pushing that, because they had to fight for other things like making Toph a girl. So I could see that being true. I'll say true for that one.
Question 4. The cabbage merchant was never supposed to return to the show.
That's it?
That's it. So you know the character I'm talking about, the "my cabbages." He was only supposed to be a one-off appearance.
Because he appears at least twice in season 1, I think. Does he? Maybe he's only there once. I'm trying to think now, yeah. It's quite possible he's only in season 1 in that first Omashu episode, and then he doesn't appear again until season 2. Does that seem right? I'm second guessing myself. I'm going to say true on that one.
And final question of the round. Zuko was a late addition to the cast due to the Fire Lord being practically chairbound for most of the show.
I'm curious what late addition could mean because, again, Zuko is in the pilot of the show, not the first couple of episodes, the production pilot. So you'd think that he must have been in it at least from an early-ish stage. So I'm going to say false in that one.
And by that theme-appropriate klaxon, that is indeed the end of the round. Are you ready to see how you've done?
I'm very nervous, to be honest. I was hoping for some more questions specific to the show rather than production questions. Should have known better, because that's usually what the questions are like in the quizzes.
So, for the first question about Aang...
Robot Monkey.
Yeah, we're so close. This is true, but the reason for the robot monkey is it was one of the first things before they fleshed out Avatar. So you probably know this better than me, but there's a famous drawing of the first depiction of Aang, but he's standing beside a robot monkey type thing and like a polar bear dog that looks like Naga from The Legend of Korra. So I think initially when they came up with the idea, they wanted it to be more like a futuristic society. And then, of course, they completely backtracked in that and then went to the mythology and the setting that we know today. You were so close when you said that. You're like, unless it was early in development, I wanted to go, oh, keep going back. But yeah, that was apparently true. And later, that character became Momo. For question 2 about the TV movie, apparently this is true. It's not so much that they gave it up in favour of Korra, but it was more, I think they pitched it to Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon said, nah, you were completely right about the executives pitching season 4 and everything, and then that fell through, and then I think the next step was they were planning on doing a film where Zuko looked for his mother, but you were completely right in that he had a lot of comics that expanded on his story of looking for his mother.
The Search is what that comic was called.
That was it, yeah. For question 3, you're going to chuck me out the window for this, or throw an earth-painted brick in my window. Yeah, that's false. I'm sorry.
I've gotten every question wrong. Oh no.
About Iroh's love of coffee. I have to admit, I thought this was the one that you would go, no, there's no way. He loves tea too much, damn it. Yeah, fortunately. But I wouldn't be surprised if one idiot said, oh, why doesn't he drink coffee instead? You know, it could happen. Stranger things have happened. For question 4 about the cabbage merchant, this was a weird one. You were right in this. This is true. But apparently he was supposed to be a one-off appearance. And then I read somewhere that they brought him back because people liked him so much. Because obviously of his over the top, oh my cabbages, which is really strange, isn't it?
I didn't realize there was enough time between deciding to bring him back and the show airing to establish that kind of love.
I like to think there's a post-it note that just says bring back Cabbage Man.
I like to think that there's so many fan letters that were written to Nickelodeon.
Is it like the Poochie effect? When Cabbage Man isn't on the screen, people should be asking, where's Cabbage Man?
And what happened to his cabbages?
And for the final question about Zuko being a late addition, apparently this was true as well.
God damn it.
I'm assuming, again, this is before they obviously put pen to paper to animate it, but I think the initial idea was they wanted to have the Fire Lord as the main antagonist. But then when they realised that Ozai was just going to be sitting in a chair doing nothing for most of the show until the end, they thought, well, we need a more dynamic villain to go after the Avatar. And I think that's where Zuko came in. And then eventually after that, I think that's where they developed his dad issues and the Agni Kai stuff and things like that. So, I mean, that was really surprising to me when I read it. And I apologise for being so tricky with these questions. I have a terrible habit of it. He said with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the second round?
I don't know that I am. Apparently, I'm not the Avatar fan that I thought I was.
Now, to be honest, if it was more about the show, you would be kicking my butt right now. Round 2, we are going to be focusing on The Legend of Korra. Question 1. Asami's voice actress, Seychelle Gabriel, made her debut in M. Night's Avatar The Last Airbender film.
I think I have actually heard that this is true.
Final answer?
True, yes. I'm going to say it's true.
Question 2. During the casting process for Korra, the showrunners asked the actresses to choose from several objects on the table, akin to the process of selecting the avatar. However, this was later admitted to being a promotional stunt that had no final bearing on their final decision.
Promotional stunt to who?
To the fans, but they said that later on that this was admitted to be more of a promotional stunt rather than if they chose right or wrong, then they would get chucked out of the process.
But I'm curious, was the casting promoted where we see fans getting clips of people choosing the objects? Because like, how are you promoting it by doing that? I could believe that they did that just as like a cute kind of in-world thing from a personality point of view, in the same way that you say the avatar is chosen, but I don't understand how it could be promotionally. I'm going to say it's true. I haven't heard Janet Varney mention that, and she may well do in the next season of Braving the Elements, but I feel like that's true.
Question 3. Sokka was supposed to be in the show as a mentor to Korra, but due to a disagreement with the voice actor, he was dropped from the show, bar his brief cameos. So as you know, he is in the show in the background.
I don't recall there being a kind of falling out, because they're generally pretty buddy-buddy. I'm going to say false on that one.
Okay, doke. Question 4. The word avatar was dropped from the Legend of Korra title, but only in America due to James Cameron's film of the same name.
I know they did that for the M. Night Shyamalan movie. The reason it's just called The Last Airbender, not Avatar Last Airbender, was a later call because of James Cameron's Avatar that was coming out, or had just come out, I think, maybe. But it is true that it is just called The Legend of Korra in North America, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know necessarily that that's the reason. It would make sense, though, so I'll say true for that one.
And final question. Amongst the star-studded cast of this show, other notable examples include Robin Williams' daughter, who plays a prominent character in the show.
True, she plays Kuvira.
And by that klaxon, we have reached the end of the round. Are you ready for the answers?
Yes. I'm so nervous now. I knew that last one, but the others I'm like,
yeah, I had to throw an easy one in, I apologise. So for question 1 about Asami's voice actress making her debut in the Last Airbender film, apparently that's true.
Yay.
Yeah, she was Princess Yue.
Okay, I wondered if that's who she was. That's funny.
Yeah, I genuinely didn't know that until I wrote up this trivia quiz. I was like, oh, neat.
Well, she's a better voice actor than she's an actor.
Question 2 about the casting process being a promotional stunt. Yeah, that's false. That's 100% false. As far as I know, there was no avatar picking. I think they just did the usual thing. Let's get you in and see if you're a good voice actor.
What did I say for that? Did I say true in the end?
I think you said false. Or did you say true?
I think I might have come around and said true. So I think I got that one wrong. I was so convinced it was false for ages. And then I was like, sure, it's true.
These trivia quizzes get in your head.
Yeah, they do.
Question 3 about Sokka supposed to be in the show, but due to a disagreement, they dropped him. You were right, that is indeed false. But as far as I know, the voice actor was on good terms with them, and I'm sure he does have a speaking part in the Amon flashback, or not Amon, but the other bloodbender.
Sokka does, but it's not Jack DeSena. It's a much deeper voice.
But yeah, fortunately, there was no beef with Sokka. So you were right, false. The word avatar being dropped from the Legend of Korra title in North America, apparently that's true, which I didn't realise. So this is interesting. Internationally, James Cameron couldn't get the copyright to the word avatar, but he could only get it in America. When I say America, I'm assuming just the USA. I don't know if that extends to Canada or not.
I think that it does. I think that it's the Legend of Korra over here.
Yeah, apparently that's true. It's known as the Legend of Korra there, but over here it's Avatar, The Legend of Korra. Not much of a difference, but it's still weird that they would trademark it.
Avatar, I think, is a Hindu, like part of the Hindu faith. And so I guess you can't really trademark religious belief.
I mean, they can try. I don't think they'd succeed, I know.
Passion of the Christ. We're trademarking Christ.
They would as well. So, final question about Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams. Yes, you're indeed right. She plays Kavira in the finale, which, yeah, I genuinely, again, I didn't realise that was her voice, but no, she does a fantastic job in that.
Yeah, I was quite familiar with that. Every time I'd watch Korra, I'd be like, do you know that's Robin Williams' daughter?
Do you know she stubbed her toe in that scene?
She really metal bended there.
Okay, final round for the Shyamalan's Avatar The Last Airbender, and it's probably the last time we're going to be talking about this, so savour it, enjoy it.
God, I hope it's the last time.
Question 1. Due to its poor reception, the film received 5 Razzie Awards in 2011.
I feel like that's low, but I don't know how many awards are given out at the Razzies. I know that there was more than that were nominated for Razzies, but I don't know how many won, so I'm going to say that's true.
Question 2. Zac Efron was supposed to be cast as Sokka, but was dropped due to scheduling conflicts.
Interesting. I did not see that in any of my research for the film. I know that the actor for Zuko was originally going to be some like white American dude, and that Dev Patel was a later replacement, but I did not see anything but Zac Efron. I'm trying to think what he would have been around, like High School Musical 3 point around that time. So I don't think that he would have been doing a Nickelodeon project because he's working with Disney. I'm going to say false.
Question 3. Suki and the Kyoshi Warriors were supposed to be in the film, but were ultimately cut.
I'm sure a lot of things were supposed to be in that movie that were cut. They're such an iconic kind of part of the story, so I would imagine that they'd originally wanted them in there, so I'll say true on that one.
Question 4. To this day, M. Night still defends this film as a masterpiece.
I imagine masterpiece is a strong way of putting it, and perhaps not the wording he would use, but I would believe that he still defends it, so I'll say true on that one.
And finally, the last question. Dragon Ball Evolution's effects influenced the way that Avatar The Last Airbender's airbending effects looked.
No, surely not. I can't imagine that movie's influenced anything.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
I'm going to say false. I can't believe that they would have utilized Dragon Ball Evolution of all things in this.
And by the sound of that final klaxon, indeed, we have indeed reached the end of the round. So, are you ready?
Yeah, give it to me.
Question 1. Due to its poor reception, the film received 5 Razzie Awards. This is true, apparently.
Nice.
You're completely right. It was nominated for so much more, but fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it,
It can't even succeed at getting more Razzies.
terrible. What are you doing
Absolute
then, right?
failure of a movie.
For question 2 about Zac Efron being Sokka, that is true, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I've not seen anything at all that's come up on.
Again, when I was looking up the most obscure facts for this film, it must have been early stages though, because you think, how did they go from Zac Efron to, well, Jason Rathbone? It's a bit of a downward leap, let's just say. For question 3, Suki and the Kyoshi Warriors were supposed to be in the film, but were ultimately cut. This is true, but apparently they got to the stage where they actually had actors for Suki and the
that's sad.
Kyoshi Warriors. Yeah, apparently I could be totally misquoting this, but I think it was 30 minutes or so, or there was like a huge chunk of it that they had filmed, and I'd read somewhere, and I don't know how true this is, but I'd read somewhere that they were even on the poster at one point when they were promoting this film.
That would be bizarre. I was saying earlier they're important, but I don't think they're important enough that they'd be one of the featured people on the poster.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? But yeah, they were apparently supposed to be in and they got axed, which is a bit of a shame because they are an important part of the story, but many things were cut. 4th question. To this day, M. Night still defends this film as a masterpiece. Yeah, this is false, 100%.
Damn.
Apparently, he did a lecture at NYU NYU's Stern School of Business in 2019, and he practically denounced it. He made a full speech about standing up for your creative vision and whatnot, not to let the executives or whoever dictate what you're going to do and so on and so forth. I can kind of understand that though, because there seemed to be a lot of studio interference in that film, but unfortunately I wish I could say I could blame them 100% on the failures of the film, but let's face it, M. Night does have a few things to blame as well. Definitely not a masterpiece. And final question, you were right, Dragon Ball Evolution has not influenced anything except for people to run the other direction. Unfortunately not.
Okay. How did I do in that round? Did I get 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 there?
3 out of 5. So you
Okay.
got question 1, 3, and 5 right. So the one about the Razzie Awards, Suke, and Dragon Ball Evolution.
Nice. Okay, so I got 3 out of 5 in that one. I got 4 out of 5 in the Korra one, and 1 out of 5 in the Last Airbender one. So what's that overall? So that's
8 out of 15.
8 out of 15. That's a solid C+.
That's not bad. Admittedly, some of the questions were really tricky. I would be surprised if you got some of them. And you know me and my tricky ways when it comes to these quizzes, so...
I feel like I need to quiz you on Avatar at like a random later point episode.
You'll just come back after a long Chatsunami hiatus and be like, question 1.
I did task you with reading the Kyoshi books, so maybe once you've read through those, I'll produce some questions about the books and the show.
It'll be to be continued here.
The revenge arc.
Yeah, exactly. The training arc.
The search for my honour.
Next time you come over to Scotland and I'm just dressed in the full Kyoshi gear, just like, I am ready, Andrew. But honestly, Andrew, thank you so much for not only taking part in this long-awaited month, but just joining me and taking part in a trip down memory lane, as it were.
No, thank you so much for having me. And again, like you said, it's a great opportunity to revisit a series that I've wanted to discuss with you on the podcast for such a long time. And it's a very exciting year for the franchise with the new movie coming out in October, I think, of this year. I don't know if it's going to get a film release or if it's going to be a streaming movie, but I'm excited all the same. It'll be very close to my birthday. So maybe around that time, we'll do a reaction episode or something like that. Get you to come visit Canada.
That is true, yeah. I've always wanted to do one of those episodes. Like, I know I've said this in the podcast before, but, you know, not so much a travel episode, but, you know, Chatsunami on the field kind of thing. Chatsunami abroad. Or technically that would count as Chowsunami, because that's food and travel.
We have poutine and beaver tails.
Do you know, I've never had either. I'm excited to try them once I'm over there.
A beaver tail is not actually...
No, actually, a beaver tail, yeah.
Not an actual beaver tail, it's a deep fried pastry kind of thing. I can't even think, like, it's a bit like, you don't know what funnel cake is either.
Well, no, yeah.
It's deep fried, so as a Scot, you'll enjoy it.
Thank you for bringing up that stereotype, Andrew.
Tell the viewers what a pizza crunch is.
Nothing wrong with a pizza crunch, thank you very much. And in case the listeners at home are wondering, what's a pizza crunch? You're just going to have to wait for our takeaway episode, okay?
Chatsunami, where we just go into a diabetic coma.
Worth it. It's just a snoring in the background.
Past the deep fried Mars bar.
There's still an artery that's not clogged. Hurry. But on that note, thank you so much. Where can these lovely Pandalorians listening find your content?
You can find me on many other episodes of Chatsunami. Again, we've just finished Avatar month, so please do listen if you've not already to those episodes. And if you already have listened, listen again. We love the views, we love the downloads, and comment about them on all the various social media platforms. So you can find me on lots of episodes of Chatsunami. You can find me on our other podcast, Stop, Drop, and Roll Initiative. It's a Dungeons and Dragons Let's Play podcast with myself, Satsunami, Robotic Battle Toaster, and wrestler Martin McAllister. That can be found Stop, Drop, and Roll Initiative, where all podcasts are found, at SDRIPod on Twitter, and I am at GreenShield95 on Twitter. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/Chatsunami, where there's some wonderful Pandalorian patrons like Robotic Battle Toaster, Sonia, Ghostie, and Cryptic 1991. So if you want to be some awesome Pandalorians like them, you can follow us over on Patreon. Just a couple of pounds or a pound or something is the entry for that, and you get a shout out in our episodes and get some access to some exclusive content back there occasionally. And yeah, please do follow us on all social media. Find us where all podcasts are found, and if you like hearing our voices, check us out again.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, definitely check us out on our website, chatsunami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. And as Andrew was saying, patreon.com/chatsunami. Obviously, donating to that isn't mandatory, but if you would like to keep us off the streets and talking more about Avatar.
I will also talk about Avatar on the streets, but
Well, that is true.
it's cold out here in Canada.
For £1 a month, you can buy him a blanket.
I wish I could firebend. I'm so cold.
Look, I'm airbending. And with that depressing image aside, apologies. Yeah, as you were saying, you can indeed check us out at patreon.com/chatsunami. As always, though, I'd like to extend a massive thank you to Andrew. Thank you so much, as always, for talking about Avatar, as always. But yeah, joining me for this very special theme month. Next month, Martin McAllister and I are going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of Mario, where we're going to be doing a whole host of different topics for Mario Month. So be sure to check that out then. But until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated.